People who downloaded their Google data and went through it. What were the most unsettling things you found out they had stored about you? That there is a map of everywhere I went in the last couple of years that's accurate to the hour. Can we all upvote the same question next week when everyone has received their information? There's an audio recording of me saying check the Jewish boys' peanuts. I don't remember ever saying that, but okay. I'm the vice president of a company that I've never heard of, and can't find any other info on it. I got drunk once and proceeded to get lost on the way home, ending up cycling on some highway. For 2 years I wondered where the hell I had been until I saw Google's location history for that night. Okay, I have a weird, but serious question. My husband passed away last year. I still have his S7. I'm also 99% sure I have his Google account information, but if not, I'm sure the password is saved in his phone. If this thing really does record voices, how would I go about downloading his Google data? I just want to hear his voice again. I'm starting to tear up as I type this, but seriously, I only have one voicemail from him on my phone and maybe a couple videos. Anything more I can get of his voice, pictures of him I haven't been able to restore. Anything I can get I want. I miss him so freaking much. If you use Google Photos and allow Maps to track your location, I took photos that I didn't like, deleted them. Weeks later I am just browsing my timeline in Google Maps and those deleted photos are there, tagged to the location. Nothing incriminating. Just thought you should know that a delete isn't a delete. Apparently I sleepwalk thousands of kilometers and then managed to get back home in time for work. Also a bunch of recordings of my computer's fan spinning. But well, at least they got me on the fetish pin searches. Google. Hyped up Google. Incompetent Google. I know my data is in good hands. My activity is empty. It has been for a long time, so there shouldn't be anything for me to download, right? Nope. 6 gigabytes of data. Minus 10 gigabytes. Holy shoot, it's gonna take a while to download. It is an old account, but I have all activity paused except YouTube watch history, so I'm really interested to see why it's so large. I did this a while back and it's basically nothing. Only a few gigs worth of GPS data and some voice recordings back when I had my Galaxy S3 and I wanted to try Google Assistant when it came out. I did get a good chuckle out of half my voice recordings being okay Google, go frick yourself, in my squeaky younger voice. I don't get how Google is recording secret conversations as that can be stored and viewed. I thought this was exclusive to Google Voice searches and commands, which are approved by the user in settings. How are these candid conversations being recorded and stored and how can you view them? It's not unsettling, but I found out that Google can tell when I'm driving a car versus my motorcycle by using the gyroscopes in my phone. It wasn't Google data that shocked me. I am kind of expecting it to know everything about me. This came from Instagram. My period was very late, so naturally, I told my husband in our very private and quiet home setting, and bought a Clearblue pregnancy test. We don't own TV, Amazon Alexa, Google Voice or similar. I just have Reddit and Instagram on my smartphone. My period was just late, but the very next day I got bombarded by ads on Instagram about Clearblue and other pregnancy sticks and some other baby shoot. There was no way that it was a coincidence since it was the second time getting a very, very specific ad. So the app is listening and showing me ads accordingly. Today I learned that you can do that. Be right back soon after I go through mine. Recordings of conversations with my boss over 2 years. I don't know why it only had recordings of her and us talking and no one else. Definitely the voice recordings. That should be turned off by default, instead of needing to be changed by the user. OP just got hundreds of people downloading their Google data. All phone active type and app, closed app etc. From the very first day I owned my phone, constant check of my GPS, constant check of my device orientation. If someone steals your Google account, they basically can find out everything there is to find out about you. The most unsettling one I've had came from Facebook, not Google. Minor bit of background. I'm a straight guy with a lot of LGBT friends and was actively involved in supporting the Australian same-sex marriage campaign. So Facebook probably had me flagged as gay at the start of 2012. In 2012 I started dating someone. We'd been friends for some time. I'm on Facebook all the time. She had an account, but almost never used it. We basically never communicated on Facebook. Immediately Facebook started telling me to mark her as a close friend, and all of its ads changed from gay singles cruise and similar to romantic getaways for couples. I can only assume that it was able to tell from GPS that she spent a night at my place, and that I spent one at hers a few days later. Not to Google, but hopefully on topic. I have downloaded my data from Facebook, and the most shocking one was a recorded phone conversation of about 30 minutes long. It was dated back around 5-7 years ago, and most surprisingly it was not even me who was speaking, and I could not even recognize who it was. Audio recordings dealers are generic and serialized, so make sure to take some precautions before listening to them in front of your family or randoms. Please don't make my mistake. Hey Google, how do I increase my peanut size? Girlfriend staring at me. My purchase history on websites like eBay, Amazon and other companies that, I guess, all sell their data about me to Google. I had no idea of it, and although I share things like my location to Google, seeing my purchases is kind of scary because I never allowed it. Hardly anything was saved. I'm very picky in what I allow an app to access. Sometimes the limited function is annoying, but it seems it pays off. So many drunken audios, like, not even meant for the phone, just background talking while, most of the times, very drunk. It was half unsettling, half fun to listen to them. Apparently when you press the microphone on the keyboard, I think it's for changing audio to text, it gets sent to Google, and apparently my drunken ass is very prone to misclick it. OP is gathering the data that Google gathered to sell to corporations to sell them to other corporations. I feel like I should have more of a problem with Google having my data, especially voice recordings, but after going through what they had, it's like 400 recordings of me saying make some coffee, play X on Netflix and turn off the lights. Maybe it's a bigger problem for people that use their assistants for more than home control. Nice. It appears that I deactivated the whole voice thing when I first got my phone. It was paused when I opened the settings and there was no activity for me to review. I have now deactivated personalized ads, and that's it. The two things Google is allowed to track are my YouTube view and search history. Shoot, my account is like over 14 years old. I wonder how long the archive process will take. Thanks OP. Real thanks, not a sarcastic one. Edit. 24 hours in. Still hasn't finished building the archive. Lol. Says it could take days. I just found out Google data was a thing today and checked mine earlier. What are the odds I see this post right now? X-Files theme plays in background. All I know is I definitely can't run for public office. Google knows every location I've been to for the last couple of months. They stored multiple audio files of me talking to colleagues and friends, and worst of all, I did not know they were doing that. My mind is blown and I'm terrified. My private information is no one's business. Google. Also, thanks for spreading awareness. OP. Have some poor man's gold. I downloaded the Facebook data, and they store every single call's date, link, and the phone number of the other side. What I made in the past. If something is free, you are the product. Semicolon. Read it on Reddit. I'm a web designer and I can tell you that the scariest shoot is not what they have on you. It's how they get that info. Voice and search. Deleted and turned off every single setting under the activity control except YouTube. Couldn't really care less about it now. Whenever I played back an OK Google, there was some sound before I say OK Google recorded. It's kinda creepy, and I hope the operation of data is all offline until an OK Google is detected. Random voice clips when I absolutely hadn't activated Google Assistant. The one that felt weirdest was a random clip from when I was babysitting and reprimanding a child for misbehaving. Very unsettling. Email to myself. Still haven't received it, but I think it was a large file : update, 36 GB all up. If I don't find some goss on myself, this is a waste. Guys, please, do a good search of your Google preferences and disable everything you don't like. My phone is, as far as I'm aware, mine. because the settings are very restrictive, and also, frick Facebook. Why do people put up with this shoot? Is there a way to delete any of this data that Google already has of me? These voice recordings are insane and I don't want it to be stored anywhere. Well, I paused YT search history, watch history, as well as location tracking and audio tracking, so if there's any of that shoot in my download, I'm gonna be mad. Be right back while I try it. Just found out that Google had recorded bits from my talk with my therapist. That's so fricked. They had tracked literally everywhere I had been since 2015. They knew every fricking store I'd visited, what date and what time, every restaurant, every hair salon, every nightclub, every plant nursery, you name it. They stored it. Google had it all innocuously stored under the teal Google timeline. The ironic thing is now all these sensitive items, along with everything else, went from just being in Google's secure servers to just sitting on people's PCs protected by security measures ranging from a password to no password at all. This info has a higher chance of being leaked by sitting on their desktop or by hopping on Starbucks free Wi-Fi. A recording of a meeting I was having with the top officials of a government organization, which was supposed to be a secret. It also had the exact location and time. Could get into trouble over this as I signed a confidentiality agreement. Not from going through my data, but one time about 1.5 years ago, I was sitting there talking to my now wife about a time when I was a teenager when I snuck out of my friend's house at night to go hang out with a girl. I hadn't had any contact with this girl for several years at this point, so there's no reason to believe she would have been searching for me on Facebook, Google, whatever at right around this exact same time. Her name was mentioned once in this conversation. Afterwards, not 15 minutes later, I open up Facebook, and immediately she shows up as a suggested friend. So I guess the takeaway here is that not only is Google listening to seemingly everything, their code that waits for the phrase is obviously quite liberal in what it considers to possibly be the phrase from your Android devices, but they also share it with the likes of Facebook and I'm sure other companies.